day, folks. How are you guys doing out there? Well, Hazel and I are doing pretty good. So, I want to talk on a topic today that many of you have been messaging me about. Many of you have started gardens, resurrected old gardens, or built new raised beds, or generally even talking about flower pots. And the question I get a lot is, okay, I'm ready to plant. What do I use for fertilizer? I don't know. I don't know what your soil needs. So before we just toss the kitchen sink at our soil or use the good old hardware store 10-10-10, because that's what I've used for years, let's maybe check out and see what our soil actually needs. Now, that's not saying if you want to use that old standby that you won't get decent results. And if you've gotten decent results and you're happy with it, go ahead. Keep doing what you're doing. Maybe you've been gardening long enough that you can see what your plants look like and you can see what they need. However, first time gardeners, that can be a daunting task of just guess and check. That can be an expensive way to do things, and in the long run, it could be detrimental. A lot of work goes into it, and you just end up getting puny fruit or vegetables at the end of the year, lackluster flowers in your baskets, and you've done all that work and you miss some vital steps to have a over the top crop or abundance of flowers. So, what do we do here? We soil sample. Um, oh, thank you. We soil sample. So we've been in this bed before. This is our potato onion bed. Right about here, this third will be onion sets. Hopefully that'll even get put in later today. And if we're super lucky, this 2/3 over here will be planted into potatoes today. So we want to begin by taking a soil test. So this is a very easy, in my opinion, a very inexpensive test that you can do. The Soil Savvy, the Soil Savvy company, who are based out of Walla Walla, sell you this awesome little kit. This kit can be directly purchased from them, or for the same price, you can get it off of Amazon. It's, I think, $25 or $26, so sub $30, and everything is paid for. Shipping, the test results, everything. So once you make that one-time purchase, everything in this box is what you need to complete your soil sample. So what's in the box? So in the box, simply, is the envelope to send it back to Soil Savvy, a little measuring scoop, and 2 postcards. Now, I've already torn these postcards apart. These postcards come together like that. You're going to tear them in 2. This is going to be your card. You'll keep this. This is going to be the card you send to the lab. You're going to fill out all your information. You're going to fill out all your information, and you're going to mark what type of test you're looking for. 3 types of tests are lawn and turf, vegetable gardens, or ornamental flower gardens. So you can dial in any of those. So you could do your lawn, you could do your garden beds, or you could do your flower beds, and that'll give you the optimal performance for whichever one of those are. So the card you keep inside the bag, which is in the box, is this little cup. And when we take our soil sample here in a moment, we're going to use this scoop. We're going to use this scoop after we get our sample. This has got a liquid in it and some type of a little pellet. I'm going to guess some type of preservative pellet. You're going to put a scoop worth of dirt in there, seal it back up. There's a loose barcode. That barcode stays. You're going to peel off this loose barcode. You're going to stick it onto your right side up card. You're going to stick it up to your card, and then you're going to keep it. You're going to then take said cup of soil, drop it in the bag, seal it over, postage paid, drop it in the mail. From there, it's going to go down to Walla Walla. In about 5 to 7 days, you're going to get results back. So I just happened to speak with Terry down at the lab the other day, And because of what's going on, and the lab is down on the campus, they are restricted to how much they can be down there. So instead of 7 to 10 days, they're more like 10 to 13 days to get it back. So after 10 to 13 days, you get emailed your results. And then you know exactly what your soil is made up of. You know the synthetic recommendations for that crop, and you know the organic recommendations for that crop. This one happens to be our main garden. So it's sitting pretty well. We're going to have to add some nitrogen, and we might have to do a couple of these micronutrients, which will most likely be a foliar application later in the year, but they're not too bad. But it gives us this recommendation of a 21-aught in half pound per 100 square foot bed, or a 13-aught at 3/4 of a pound in a 100 square foot bed. Now we're going to go with this one, and 13-aught happens to be blood meal. So we're going to add 3/4 of a pound to our 100 square foot beds to bring this nitrogen level up. I believe um, blood meal also carries a little bit of manganese here too to pull it up, but I'll have to check on that. So I've only got 2 back right now. I've got a few more waiting to come back. This other one is our tomato garden. So it has an organic recommendation of a 101 at 6 pounds per 100 square foot bed. 101 happens to be ironite. So we'll be adding a few pounds of ironite to that bed. Or a synthetic blend of a 2100 or a 006. But these beds are only about 30 feet apart from each other, somewhat made up of the same soil when we built these beds. But you can see the difference of what the carryover of these 2 beds have. So if you were to just add some garden store variety 10-10-10 or 15-15-15 or a 3-4-6 Joby's vegetables, you don't know what you might be shooting for. So that's where, with these soils that I've got, what would happen is we would have some very weak plants in the nitrogen part. So we'd have some weak, bushy plants. They wouldn't have that nice green look, and they'd kind of fledge along. And without that nitrogen, a lot of these other nutrients and macronutrients won't kick in. So they're $25 a piece, and I don't even know if you'd have to do them every year. Um, but if you don't do one at least that first time, you won't know where to start. So that's the key importance to it. So I just gave you some what the soil sample is, but I know you're already shaking your head going, well, what do the numbers mean? What's a 13-13-13? What's a 1-01? What is that? Well, that is your macronutrient makeup. Your macros, your big 3 are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. That's NPK. That's the first, or that's the 3 numbers on fertilizer. Come on now. There we go. That's the first, or that's the numbers on fertilizer. The first one, this one of being first fish fertilizer, is 5. That's 5 nitrogen, 1 phosphorus, and 1 potassium. So nitrogen is there for our big leafy growth, rich green color. That's what just gives that plant some vibrant oomph and go. Um, we can in with organic fertilizer, it's really hard to burn our plants. With the synthetic fertilizer, too much and we can burn those plants. Phosphorus being the second number, phosphorus really helps with root uh, growth, gives that plant energy from the roots up. Strong roots, and also assists with flowering. Potassium is for all around growth of our plant. Potassium helps the plant utilize the water properly and gives it top to bottom growth. So why do we want good rounded fertilizer? Why do we want to get the soil sample? Because then we're using our fertilizer for a well balanced nutrition for the plant, Well-balanced nutrition for the plant helps with heat and cold tolerances, and a strong, healthy plant is also more resistant to pests and diseases. Diseases will often attack our weaker plants. So something like our tomato bed that's going to have several tomatoes in it, we may have one plant that gets disease ridden. And if we notice that, we'll pull it out of the mix quick and get rid of it. We don't put it back in our compost pile, we'll just physically get rid of that plant. Now, that being said, why did it get the disease? Why did just one plant get the disease? Well, DNA makeup says that it could be disease prone, or also maybe in the blend of fertilizer that part was just weak. So it was in a weakened state to allow that disease to harbor in that plant a little easier. So back to these numbers. All right, great. 511 means nitrogen, phos, potassium. But what does the 511 mean? What do those stand for? Well, what those stand for, no matter what type of bag, this is a liquid. This is 5% nitrogen, 1% phos, 1% potassium. Why did they come up with that number? Well, that's the makeup for fish fertilizer. So this is a fish emulsion. Yes, this is ground up fish. And that is the chemical or the nitrogen, phos, potassium makeup of that fertilizer. Here's a Joey's vegetable tomato, and it is a 253 makeup. And I'm not too sure what this is completely made up. This is a bone meal, processed poultry manure, and sulfate of potash. So the blend of those three things comes out to be a 253 makeup. With organic fertilizer, you're almost always going to get different or odd numbers because that is the fertilizer makeup or nutritional makeup of that product. They do make blended fertilizer in the organic world where you get a straight 10 10 10. And then it's more like that one. It's a recipe of things to build those even numbers. On the other hand, commercial fertilizer, it's a total blend. So they can often make those numbers whatever they want to make them. So that is one plus for commercial fertilizers is they can make that blend ratio whatever the soil needs. However, for other reasons, I don't like to use commercial fertilizer in our garden and flower beds. I stick to the organic side. That's what the number means is the makeup of that product. So let's get back to soil sampling. So we're going to take this bed. I don't know the measurements of this bed. This bed's about 15 by 25. And so on a bed size this big, I'm going to do at least 6 spots, probably do 8. So we'll go back, we'll get ready to build that kit. I like to use my wife's favorite mixing bowl because it's usually the cleanest one. I haven't fully stolen it to be out in the greenhouse yet because the bowls in there seem to be used for other stuff. So I like a nice wide bowl, and I'll show you why, instead of just using a bucket or a cup. So there's a couple ways to do this. I actually have a soil probe. We use these out in the big fields also, so they are convenient to use in the garden. So I'll just show you one plug with that because most of you aren't going to have access to one of these. So we'll find a spot, kind of go in a grid. I want to look for that I'm not plugging in a dense spot, but I want to not try to hand pick my spots. I want an average spot. So what I do is we've got a thin layer of compost on here. This is also underneath some fir trees. So lots of times we'll get pine cones, and after a wind, we'll get a little bit of some needle drop. So I want to kind of just brush that top stuff over this to the side because I actually want soil. Then we'll push that probe in about 4 to 5 inches. Didn't get any on that one. And then we'll take that core and we'll put that core into our bowl. Need one more hand. Okay, put that core in. And then I would take this and I would do several more. If you don't need something like that, you can use the handy dandy trowel. Same thing, find a spot, remove some of that top superficial layer, because you don't have a very big sample with that little cup. So you don't want it to be um, heavily influenced by one chunk of something in the soil. So I'm going to take a small shovel full of that 3 to 4 inches deep, and I'm going to take those everywhere. So after I gather 5, 6, 7, 8, the more you take, the more of an average you have. I'm going to shake it up, really blend it up, and break up those particles. Because again, I don't want a pea-size clod in that small scoop to determine what my sample is going to be. So I'm going to give it a good mix. And as you can see, giving it a mix puts those larger particles to the side and gives a nice soil blend. So I'm going to take that scoop out of the sample. I'm going to take that scoop, make sure there's not large particle in it, pick that out, and I'm going to dump it into that little liquid container. Mail it off, anxiously wait for that 7 to 10 days till you get emailed the results. And you have the happiest plants, the best producing vegetables that you can have for this season. So my suggestion is, before you ask me what kind of fertilizer, because I'm never going to tell you what kind of fertilizer I would add because I got no idea what your soil is, spend the money, go get the sample kit, and get ready to energize and supercharge your garden for this coming year. So thanks for watching. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for any new updates as they come up, and get ready to have yourself a great gardening year. Thank you much.